Hmm? I see his name on here to do it, but he has not come on.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bridgewater. How are you?
I'm doing great, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing well also. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Ms. Falk. Hope you're well too. Everyone else, good afternoon as well.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridgewater, when is the SAP reset date?
It's going to be July 6th, and that's going to be a heavy calendar. Unfortunately, the 4th of July fell on our SAP date, so we're having to double up.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Afternoon, courtroom two. Hope everyone's well.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge Morrow.
Afternoon.
What a surprise to see you. We're gonna actually do, it's actually an add-on.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you tell me who this is?
Yes, she's the add-on. It's gonna be
Okay.
Christine Davis.
Okay, very good. It's good afternoon, Ms. Davis. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 003935G with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. I believe that this is Ms. Davis's first arrest. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Bickerstaff, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. So this incident occurred yesterday at 1421 Anawaka Avenue. And this is where officers arrived and noticed two women, one being the defendant, the other being Miss Janae Jonas. They were arguing, and so officers split them up. The defendant told officers that she drove to Miss Jonas' house to get one of her jackets back from 2019, and that that's why they were arguing. And so officers told the defendant not to walk towards Miss Jonas and the officer while they were talking to her, and despite being told not to, she did anyway. And so officers arrested her, and she pulled away as officers were trying to detain her. And the warrant noted that they had to physically put the defendant in the police cruiser because she refused to get in the vehicle. So for these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with Miss Jonas, and that's spelled Joonus, and to stay away from Miss Jonas's address at 1421 Anawaka Avenue, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay. Is this your case, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, good afternoon. Instead of $1,000, instead of it going through pretrial, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail with the stay away and the no further contact and the no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Is that fine with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good luck to you, Ms. Davis.
You're done. You gotta say. Position 4, more.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. You've been charged in case 23 CR 003937J with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
11 total. Last arrest was in January for trespass, disorderly conduct, terroristic threats, and obstruction. That's 23 CP 215735. She was arrested twice last year for trespass, once for FTA, possession of drug-related objects, 2014 failure to appear in probation, and a 2014 trespass conviction.
Yes, Your Honor, I thought that this was going to be a plea an arraignment for Ms. Moore. Is it not? Can one of the public defenders help me out on that?
I believe it was PD Wills. I see her right there.
Ms. Wills, are you with us?
Your Honor, I just got a text from her. She's having a really difficult time to log in. So she has to restart her computer. So that's why there's a hold right now. She could not.
Okay. All right. Are we able to go to someone else until Ms. Wills joins us?
Yes, that's fine, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
That Ms. Wills is not available, Judge?
Apparently she's having problems logging on.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Position number 10, Mr. Witcher.
Good morning, Judge. Sorry, afternoon. Attorney Michael Barber. How are you?
Good. I'm fine. Good to see you, Mr. Barber. Are you well?
I am well. Thank you for asking. Always a pleasure.
Yes. Let's see, Mr. Witcher, good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Witcher, you've been charged in case 23 CR 003941E with simple assault. Is my understanding from pretrial that this is Mr. Witcher's first arrest. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened May 27th, 2023 at 5501 Glen Ridge Drive, apartment 360. I'm actually going to explain this from the defendant's point of view because that's largely where the statement came from that was corroborated. Officers spoke to the defendant who said he received a call from his mother, Jessie Hicks, stating that Corey Moten, the fiance of his sister, Deanna Hicks, had assaulted Miss Hicks. The defendant stated at that point he went crazy and responded to Mr. Moten and Miss Hicks' apartment. The defendant admitted that once he was there, he found the door unlocked and went into the apartment. He stated he observed Mr. Moten and his mother, Jessie Hicks, arguing, but admitted to the officers he did not observe a physical assault between anyone at the premises when he arrived. The defendant then told police he stepped into the bedroom and attempted to knock Mr. Moten's head the F off, at which point Mr. Moten shot the defendant twice in the leg. Mr. Moten did admit to shooting the defendant, who is the victim, the defendant, but claimed that he saw the defendant charging at him with his arms spread wide and backed away from the defendant, causing him to fall and accidentally shoot the defendant. This was after the defendant was threatened. This was after Mr. Moten was threatened by Miss Jessie Hicks, the mother who started all of this by calling the defendant. He was threatened by her with a large knife. So in all, Mr. Moten had been confronted by Miss Jessie Hicks as well as the defendant in this situation. We haven't been able to reach the victim, Mr. Corey Moten, based on the information we have in the warrant, but we would like to sound for Mr. Moten. Being that this is the defendant's first arrest, we are agreeable to a $2,000 signature bond, no further contact with Corey Moten, stay away from 5501 Glen Ridge Drive, apartment 360, which is the residence of Mr. Moten and Ms. Hicks, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we are additionally requesting one-day anger awareness. And if we could sound for Mr. Corey Moten.
Yes, let me first ask, so Mr. Witcher, Ms. Hicks is Mr. Witcher's mother. Is that
Miss-
right?
Miss,
Okay.
yes, Miss Hicks
And-
is Mr. Witcher's mother, Miss Jessie Hicks,
And Corey
And-
Moten's girlfriend is Mr. Witcher's sister. I believe.
correct.
Corey Moten's girlfriend. is-
Fiance,
Oh,
Deanna
okay.
Hicks,
Okay,
is the defendant's sister.
Well,
okay.
they may not be fiance anymore.
Well, just letting you know, that was the status as of May 27th.
Okay, and was Miss Hicks arrested?
That I would need to check.
The mom was arrested. That is.
Oh,
Okay.
she was arrested also? Okay, all right, it's, all right. Yes, Mr. Barber, any objection to anything that Ms. Falk has requested?
I'm good with the signature bond. I don't think any of that other stuff is necessary. I think once we get into it, they may end up, the district attorney's office may end up arresting Mr. Moten. I don't know why he wasn't arrested, because he brought a gun to a fist fight, according to what I just heard, which I don't think under any set of circumstances is okay. Falling down and shooting somebody twice doesn't make any sense to me. And Mr. Witcher was shot twice. So I don't think gun goes off twice just because you fall. But other than that,
Let's,
good with signature.
okay, and were you requesting that, Ms. Falk, through pretrial?
We were for the one-day anger awareness, yes.
Okay, given the history, I am gonna let it go through pretrial per the judge. At this time, I'm not gonna require the one-day anger awareness. All the other requirements, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons also while out on bond.
And Your Honor, does that include the stay away and no further contact?
Is Mr. Hicks still living with, whose house is it?
From our information, it is Deanna Hicks' home with Mr. Corey Moten.
Okay, so does he have any reason to be there, Mr. Witcher?
I believe that question is directed to Mr. Barber, but I
Right, yeah,
have no answer.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barber, excuse me.
Well, the only reasons he goes over there is for family night with the mother and the sister.
Okay, well, let's keep him away from there for the time being, I guess. So, no further contact with Mr. Moulton. And Mr. Moulton, if you're on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. It doesn't appear so, Ms. Falk.
Yes, Your Honor.
So no further contact and the stay away is in place along with no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Okay, very
Will you
good.
repeat that bond amount again?
It's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. Do you need for me to go through the rest of it also, Ms.?
No. I just didn't get the amount.
Okay,
So it's
okay.
3,000. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you, Mr. Witcher. Anything further this afternoon, Mr. Barber?
No, that concludes my business, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good rest of your afternoon. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Yeah.
Sure.
Position 9, Stone. Accident second.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Stone. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm doing fine. Thank you, sir. You have been charged in case 23 CR 003940C with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, hold on real quick. Let me look at this case number. All right, yeah, 7 total. Last arrest was in April for AMC charge. He got an open simple assault in state court. It's 23 CR 002124C. 2019 simple battery DV dismissed, simple battery cruelty to children dismissed, and a 2015 disorderly conduct and simple battery NOLO.
Okay, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. On June 21st, 2023, which was yesterday, the officers were called out to 43 Booker Street Northwest. I wanted to particularly point out that the caller stated he observed that, I'm not sure the gender, that they observed a man beating a woman. When the officers arrived, they met with Miss Alexandra Turner, who stated she was struck in the face by the defendant, the father of her child. Miss Turner stated that she and the defendant were in the car having a verbal disagreement, and the defendant became irate. And Miss Turner asked the defendant to let her out of the vehicle, but he refused. So Miss Turner exited the vehicle while it was still in motion. The defendant then stopped the vehicle, got out and grabbed Miss Turner around her torso, trying to pull her back into the vehicle. And when Miss Turner refused, according to Miss Turner, the defendant punched her in the right side of her face, causing a laceration under her right eye. We have had the opportunity to speak with Miss Turner, and we would ask to sound for her. She stated that they have been together for 5 years, share a child together, and reside together at 55 Maple Street, apartment 702. She further stated that they do not have a domestic violence history, and that's going to become important shortly, and that she is not in fear of the defendant. When speaking with our victim advocate, she stated that she and the defendant had a disagreement in the vehicle, and then she got out, the defendant got out, tried to get her back into the car, and when she refused, he hit her in the face, causing a scratch. Although she wants the defendant to return, I want to point out that there is a conviction for simple battery family violence from 19 CR 009-343A. That case involved Miss Alexandra Turner as well. So this is in fact not the first time that they have had a family violence case. It is actually the second time, and we were able to locate that conviction. Additionally, the defendant has a conviction for simple battery in 2015 in DeKalb, and was convicted of battery in a public transit vehicle under 19 CR 004591A in Fulton County. The defendant also has an open simple assault against Jermaine Day, where he is out on a $4,000 surety bond, which was signed by Judge Lull on April 7th, 2023 under 23 CR 002124C. In fact, out of all of his cycles, only one of them do not involve violence. The rest of them either involve violence or the threat of violence. We are asking, and additionally, he did have a 2014 family violence battery that was dismissed in October 2014. Given all of these circumstances, given the prior Family Violence Act against Miss Turner in 2019, the state is asking for a $7,500 surety bond. No further contact with Alexandra Turner, stay away from 55 Maple Street, apartment 702, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Additionally, due to his open case as well as this case, we are asking for family violence intervention program. Thank you, Your Honor. We would like to sound for Ms. Turner at this time.
Ms. Turner, if you are with us this afternoon and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. If you would like to address the court, you'll need to unmute yourself, and I'll have to swear you in.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms.
Good
Turner. Would you please raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
Pretty much that Jonathan and I, like we had a disagreement. Unfortunately, it led to where it led, but I'm not in fear of my life with him, and he is more than welcome to come home.
Okay. How old is your child?
4.
And does your child live at the 55 Maple Street address with you?
Yeah, she lives with me.
And did you find it necessary to call the police the other day?
No, I did not. It was other people who were that was viewing the event. They called the police.
Okay. And this has happened in the past, is that right?
Yes, we have had a disagreement before where I had to call the police. Yes.
Ms. Falk, any questions?
And yes, Your Honor, if I may. Ms.
course.
Turner, is it correct that the bystanders felt the need to call the police because the defendant hit you?
Objection, Your Honor, that's asking her to make some kind of legal conclusion. She doesn't know why the bystanders did what they did. She can't read their minds.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my question, Your Honor. Ms. Turner, is it correct that the defendant hit you?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McLeod, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client is 33 years old. I listened to the presentation made by the state, and it seems to me that my client has a conviction from 2015, but no other convictions on his record. I understand that he has been arrested, but that was the only conviction I heard, that he pled nullo to simple battery, I believe, in 2015. My client is working. He's been in a long-term relationship with Alexandra. I actually had the opportunity to speak with her before court, and she tells me that she wants my client to come back home to be with her and this child, and she's not afraid of it. And I understand that they had this incident, and there's something before. But her testimony has been that she's not afraid of him, and that essentially it was a verbal dispute. He tells me that he was just trying to get her back into the car, and that was all that was. I understand that the court may be disinclined to give him a signature bond because he has an open case at the time, but I would definitely ask the court to consider giving him an appropriate bond, certainly not $7,500, so he can get out of jail and get back to work and to taking care of his child. Nothing further, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, if I may, clearly I miscommunicated the defendant's history. He has 3 convictions: a 2019 simple battery against Ms. Turner, a 2019 battery in a public transit vehicle, and a 2015 simple battery out of DeKalb County. 3 prior convictions.
I thought I heard that the prior cycle against Alexandra was dismissed.
That was a 2014 family violence battery, but he was then later convicted on a 2019 family violence case involving Ms. Turner.
Okay, it's going to be a, Mr. Stone, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Go ahead and put your hand down for me. I'm going to let Ms. McLeod speak with you after the hearing today, because although you do have a right to remain silent, and if I allowed you to speak, quite often you'll say something that's against your interest and get yourself in more trouble. So if Ms. McLeod wants you to speak after I announce my my bond, then I'm happy to hear it if she thinks that's advisable. But I would advise you that you should speak with her after court today. As for this bond, it's going to be a $6,000 surety bond. Okay, and I want Ms. Turner to hear this, because
Yes.
although although Ms. Turner, although you want him to return to your residence, what I'm concerned about, y'all are grown folk, okay? You've got a 4-year-old that both of you have a 4-year-old that you should be most concerned about. I'm concerned about that 4-year-old. Y'all are grown people, all right? So at this point in time, until you all can work things out, it's going to be a no further contact with you, and to stay away from the 55 Maple Street apartment 702 address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that you have there, Mr. Stone. I also am not going to keep you from your child, but you're going to have third-party transfer for visitation of your child. I think that's important, but you all need to work out what you need to work out before you get back together. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, anything further on this, Ms. McLeod and Ms. Falk?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Your Honor, what about the state's request for FVIP?
I imagine that he went through it before. I'm going to leave that until a sentencing, if that's something that happens down the road.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, though. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Stone. You also. Ms. Turner.
Okay, thank you.
Position 5, Morris.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Morris. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir, Judge Morrow.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. You have been charged in case 23 CR 003946H with battery, simple assault, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
6 adult arrests. Last was 2021. Interference with government property and obstruction. He's on probation for that. 22 SC 181786. 2021 ag assault, first offender. 2019 possession of drug-related objects conviction. 2019 resisting arrest conviction. 2018 terrorist threats conviction. And it appears to have an open case out of Houston. It says health and safety violation. That's it.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened June 20th, 2023 at the 800 block of Juniper Street. Officers spoke with Amanda Lash, who stated that the defendant assaulted her and Christopher Peterson prior to the defendant, and both of them identified the defendant prior to him taking flight. The officers were able to stop the defendant and place him under arrest. They then went back, spoke to Miss Lash, who stated she had left the Quick Trip and was returning to work, where she works as a chiropractor's office. And while she was at the intersection of Juniper and 6th Street, the defendant began making lewd hand gestures and verbal remarks towards her. She does not know him, and I just want to clarify. Miss Lash stated she felt threatened and afraid and stepped into the street with active traffic going by in an attempt to distance herself from the defendant. At that point, the defendant then came within 5 feet of Miss Lash and told her, "I'm not a rapist," and then asked if an approaching vehicle was her ride. At that point, Miss Lash felt very concerned for her safety, crossed over to the east side of Juniper Street, and made contact by phone with her coworker, Christopher Peterson, to tell him she was being followed by the defendant and needed his help. Mr. Peterson, her coworker, then arrived and went to where Miss Lash was at Juniper and 7th Street and began walking back with her toward their office. According to both Miss Lash and Mr. Peterson, they heard footsteps and saw the defendant behind them. And without provocation, the defendant struck Mr. Peterson in the right side of his face, causing his glasses to fly off and causing visible swelling and lacerations to his face. At that point, Mr. Peterson, acting in self-defense after being struck by the defendant, pushed him to the ground where the defendant struck his head. We did have an opportunity to speak with both Mr. Peterson and Miss Lash. Mr. Peterson is a chiropractor on the 900 block of Juniper Street. He stated he does not know the defendant. This incident is the first time he has seen him. And he stated that his employee, Miss Lash, went to get them lunch and a few minutes later was calling him frantically, telling him to come outside. He said he went out to meet with her, who then motioned to the defendant, who was about a block away, and told Mr. Peterson he was following her while yelling and screaming at her. Mr. Peterson stated that they went to walk back to the office. He heard footsteps behind him, turned around, and the defendant sucker punched him in the face, causing his glasses to fall off. And he did sustain a busted lip due to the punch, and his braces cut into his skin. He stated the defendant came after him again and tried to hit him, but he was able to push him in another direction. And at that point, the defendant left but stood in the area, and when an off-duty officer saw the whole incident, went on foot to arrest the defendant. That is when all of this happened. We have spoken to Mr. Peterson. He does say he would like a no further contact and to stay away from his job location at the 900 block of Juniper Street. We also happen to speak to Miss Lash. She stated that she went to get lunch for herself and Dr. Peterson when she saw the defendant at 6th and Juniper. She stated she kept walking, realized he was following her, and began screaming and yelling at her. She stated she had been followed and assaulted before, so she was on high alert this time. And when she stopped to see if the defendant would stop, he did. And then she looked at him and he repeatedly said, "I am not a rapist." He continued to follow her. She went into the road to try to stop cars and fool the defendant into believing she had a ride, but he continued to follow her. And at that point, she called Dr. Peterson to come outside and assist him. When they began walking, the defendant ran up on them and punched Dr. Peterson in the face. According to Ms. Lash, she heard the defendant then say, "I got him." And at that point, Ms. Lash said the defendant again tried to hit Mr. Peterson, but was not successful. At that point, they flagged down the off-duty officer and received assistance. She stated she also wants a no further contact and to stay away from her job. And both Ms. Peterson, Mr. Peterson, and Ms. Lash are here on the Zoom. I want to point out the defendant is currently on probation for interference with government property and obstruction. That's a 22 SC 181786 case, where he was sentenced in September of 2022 and enrolled in the drug court program as part of the sentence. He is an FTA now related to that case that was signed on January 3rd, 2023, for which he is now in jail as well. He also was under first offender probation for aggravated assault under 20 SC 176811, where he was sentenced in March of 2021 for that ag assault. He was then placed on probation until his probation was revoked in September of 2022. He is also convicted of terroristic threats in 2018 in Fort Worth, Texas, and resisting arrest in 2019. So we are very concerned for the safety of both of our victims, Mr. Peterson and Ms. Lash. And based on his history, including his current probation and his prior offense for aggravated assault and terroristic threats, we are asking for a $16,000 surety bond, $10,000 for the battery, $5,000 for the simple assault, and $1,000 for the obstruction. We're also asking for a BHET due to the circumstances. We feel that this was a highly unusual situation, and we think one may be necessary. No further contact with Christopher Peterson and Amanda Lash. Stay away from Juniper Street, the entirety of the street, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state. We would like to sound for Christopher Peterson and Amanda Lash.
If Ms. Lash and Mr. Peterson are on the line and would like to add something to Ms. Falk's very thorough recitation of the facts in this matter, I'm happy to hear it. If you would like to address the court, now is your time to do so. You'll have to activate your camera, unmute yourselves, and I'll have to swear you in. It doesn't appear that they'd like to speak, Ms. Falk, but thank you. Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Wills.
Good afternoon. Mr. Morris is 37 years old. He reports that he is currently homeless. He did previously participate in the PTS housing program. He has resided in the state of Georgia for the past 3 years. He is currently unemployed. He does obtain a GED. And he also reports that he's been homeless or struggled with housing for the past 3 months. Mr. Moore states that he believed that he knew Ms. Lash, that was an acquaintance of his. That is why he was following her and speaking with her. I do believe that a $16,000 bond would be a punitive bond for my client, as he has no means or way of making any bond. I would request a signature bond. And if Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask that he be given the lowest bond possible. I have asked that a social worker visit with Mr. Morris for a BEHT, as well as to provide him with housing resources.
Thank you, Ms. Wills. For the battery, it's going to be a $4,000 good bond. For the simple assault, a $1,500 good bond. For the willful obstruction, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $6,000 good bond. No further contact with either Ms. Lash or Mr. Peterson. Stay away from the 900 block of Juniper Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, and a social worker visit in this matter. If for prospective BHET. Let's see, Ms. Wills, if he does not make bond, he'll be back on the SAP calendar, which is going to be on July 6th. And I would like for you to either report to me or whomever the judge is on the case at that time regarding the results of that, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. If there's nothing further, good luck to you, Mr. Morris.
Your Honor, we do have one request. Because this incident actually started at the 700 block of Juniper, can we at least have that no further contact and stay away from the 700 to the 900 block? Because Miss Lash was getting lunch for her and her employer. She may have to leave the 900 block to do so again.
Oh, that's fine. I didn't know if I thought the business itself was on 900, but 700 through 900, I think that's fair.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Morris.
And Your Honor, just as a question, his failure to appear, he has a hold for failure to appear. Would that also be addressed on the SAP calendar on the 6th?
Is that for in this court?
No,
Is that a
that's for
state
his
court case?
the warrant says it's for his interference with government property in Superior Court.
Okay, so you don't have jurisdiction.
Okay, I didn't know what the charge was.
Okay, that's fine. And courtroom 2, I just want to make sure that you're aware that we do have the interpreter on the line. So whenever you're ready for it to go into that breakout room with the interpreter and the attorney, just let me know.
They are already in the breakout room, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all are ahead of me. Good, thank you.
And Judge Morrow, for the battery, was it a 4,000 good bond?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. You're done. You are. Position 3, Hamner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hammond. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hamner, you've been charged in case 23 CR 003939C with battery family violence.
Second arrest, 2011, suspended license, no low.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Bickerstaff.
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident occurred April 30th of this year. And this is where Miss Catrice Brown and the defendant were arguing over them Miss Brown picking up their daughter from a relative's home. And then the defendant demanded for her car keys. And so when she refused, he grabbed her body and he threw her on the ground in her apartment. Then he placed Ms. Brown in a headlock, preventing her from getting up. The officer noted that she sustained abrasions to her lower lip from Mr. Hamner becoming physical with her. Our victim witness advocate was able to speak to Ms. Brown today, and she let us know that they've been together for 6 years and they have one child, but they do not live together. She also told us that they do not have a domestic violence history and she's not afraid of him, and that they successfully have custody over their child, Your Honor. She also let us know, which is contradictory to the warrant, that she did not sustain injuries, but the officer obviously observed them. That's why they put it in the warrant. She did let us know that she wants contact with the defendant and that, that's all, that she wants contact with the defendant. But nevertheless, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Ms. Brown, and to stay away from 369 McDaniel Street, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And Ms. Brown is on Zoom, so I would like to sound for her.
If you can raise your right hand for me. Ms. Brown, do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
Okay, so yes, I just wanted to say that, yes, I've dated him for 6 years. He's an amazing father. Like, we get along. At the time of it all, like I said, like I told the lady today, I realized like I was overreacting, and it was just one of those situations where I got worked up. And I had actually put his stuff outside and I was standing behind the door. So after he had went outside, when he went to push the door open, it kind of came towards me. He didn't know I was on the other side. So that's where the abrasion came from. And I felt it wasn't that he put his hands on me at any point. We were arguing, but it wasn't at any point that he actually had put his hands on me or hit me or obstruct me. That wasn't what the abrasion was from. That was inside my lip. With that being said, I don't have any reason to be afraid of him. He picks up his daughter all the time, take her to daycare, spends times with her. We don't have any issues. We're not together, but like I said, we co-parent perfectly, so I don't feel the need to be afraid of him or be away from him for any reason. If anything, he's in regular rotation with his daughter, so it's actually more helpful for him to be able to like pick her up and take her to school the way our schedules are set up.
Has this happened before?
It has never happened before.
And you're not afraid of him?
At all.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Wells?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hamner is 32 years old. As it was stated, he has very minimal, hardly any criminal history, definitely no violent history. He is currently unemployed. He does have a high school diploma as well as an associate's degree. He has one 3-year-old child that he shares with Ms. Brown. He also stated to me that he is no longer in a relationship with Ms. Brown. They have separate residences. He provided me with a different address that is not from the warrant. Again, this warrant is from April 30th. My client reports that they have not had any verbal or physical or any kind of altercations or disturbances since this time or before that time. My client does state that on that date, he and Ms. Brown got into a verbal altercation. He attempted to leave. She didn't want him to leave. And there was a scuffle over him getting his car keys so that he could vacate her residence. But again, we would ask for no further violent contact as there has not been any further issues. It seems that Mr. Hamner is a very integral part of his child's life. And would also request a signature on bond or the lowest bond that Your Honor is willing to give. My client does currently have, or in his booking report, it showed that he had a hold for a traffic ticket out of Riverdale, but he says that that issue has been resolved.
Okay, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Brown, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hamner.
Judge, I apologize. I stepped away from the, stepped away. What was the bond?
Okay, it's $3,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're actually ready for position 4, Ms. Moore, with her plea. Okay.
And I am in receipt of the paperwork, so we're good.
Okay, and so Ms. Moore is proceeding pro se this afternoon? Okay, Ms. Moore, good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can put your hand down, Ms. Moore. Let's see, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We have provided you with the assistance of the public defender. It's my understanding that you wish to proceed this afternoon pro se, meaning without the advice of counsel, and enter a plea in case 23 CR 003937J, the criminal trespass. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Bickerstaff, if you will just give me what the plea is, what the terms will be.
Yes, the plea is 12 months to serve 1 day, credit for time served 1 day, balance suspended, and to stay away from the Texaco at 101 Hamilton E. Holmes Drive.
Ms. Moore, is that your understanding of what your offer was and what you would like to accept?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Bickerstaff, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Moore, it's my understanding that in case 23 CR 003937J, you wish to plead guilty to criminal trespass. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol this afternoon?
No, sir.
You have been given the opportunity to be represented by counsel. It's my understanding that you wish not to utilize counsel and wish to proceed on your own. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You understand?
I'm understanding.
Okay, you understand that you have a right to a trial by jury on this charge and that by pleading guilty to it, you're giving up your right to a trial by jury? You have to answer yes or no for me, Ms.
Yes,
Moore.
sir.
Has anyone forced or coerced you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll accept the plea as negotiated, Ms. Moore. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Position 2, Hadley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hadley. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that was conducted by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 003938F with following too closely. It's my understanding from pretrial that this is Mr. Hadley's first arrest. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. So Mr. Hadley also has position number 2 on the add-on calendar. So if you
Oh,
would
okay.
take that up as well.
Hold on one moment. Okay. Also, Mr. Hadley, you've been charged in case 23 CR 003942F with battery, family violence, and criminal trespass. Thank you, Ms. Bickerstaff. You can continue.
Okay, so for position number 2 for the charge of following too closely, that took place yesterday at 2075 Donald Lee Hollywell Road. And this is where the defendant was involved in a car accident and officers cited him for following too closely. For that, the state's recommendation is a $500 surety bond. And then for position number 2 on the add-on calendar, this incident occurred December 20th, 2021 at 921 Westmoreland Circle, apartment 3209. And this is where Miss Ramisha Moon told officers that her child's father, the defendant, he caught her going through his phone and he became really upset that she was going through his phone. So then he began punching holes in the bedroom door. And then the defendant forced Ms. Moon on the floor. Officers noted that she sustained scratches to her neck and face from that. And she also let officers know that he dragged her in the apartment from one end of the apartment to another. Our office was able to speak to Ms. Moon today, and she let us know that the two of them have been off and on with each other since 2016, and they both reside at the 921 Westmoreland Circle address. She stated that they do have a domestic violence history, and the last incident was around 2021. She also confirmed the events that were listed in the warrant, Your Honor. But she did let us know that things were getting better and that she wants contact with the defendant and she wants him to return to the residence. Nevertheless, the state's recommendation for these charges is a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the battery, family violence, and $1,000 for the criminal trespass, 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Ms. Moon, and to stay away from 921 Westmoreland Circle, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And the state will also be asking for a one-time police escort so the defendant can get his things. And I believe Ms. Moon is on the Zoom, so I would like to sound for her.
Speaker staff?
Yes.
Is that spelling M-O-O-N?
Yes, M-O-O-N. And
Okay.
do you need the first name as well?
Yes.
Okay, Ramisha is R-A-Y-M-E-A-S-H-I-A.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Moon, I believe that's you there. If you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I am not in fear of my life. Me and Mr. Hadley, that situation happened about 2 years ago, and since then we have not had any problems as far as him putting his hands on me. We do live together. He's an amazing father. He's, I'm sorry.
You're fine. He's taking care of his child?
Yes.
Okay,
We have 2 baby girls.
Okay, and you're not afraid of him?
No.
And you would like for him to return to the household?
Yes.
And this has not happened again since this December 2021, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, anything else you want to tell me, Ms. Moon?
No.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Wells?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hadley is 23 years old. He is employed by Pitney Bowes in the mail sorting department, and he has been employed by them by the past 7 or 8 months. He does have a high school diploma from Frederick Douglass High School. He also has some college from Albany State. I would follow in line with Ms. Moon's request that he be allowed to return home. This incident happened almost 2 years ago, and they've continued to reside in the same residence and have not had any future or any other incidents since that time. His current bond on the traffic case is $265 surety. I do believe for following too closely, he likely would have just received a ticket, but for him having this outstanding warrant. So I would ask for a signature bond for both charges. And if Your Honor is not so inclined, I'll ask for the lowest bond that you are willing to set. My client does deny that he did put his hands on Ms. Moon. He states that there was a disagreement between himself and her after she went through his phone and he woke, well, and that is all I'll say, but there was a disagreement over potentially some infidelity. So I would ask that he be allowed to return home just given the amount of time that has passed.
Okay, for the position number 2, the following too closely, it's going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. For position 2 on the add-on calendar for the battery family violence, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. For the criminal trespass, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. That's a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Moon, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hadley. You also, Ms. Moon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Judge.
welcome.
Position 1, Davis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Davis. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, you've been charged in case 23 CR 003945B with simple assault, family violence, criminal trespass, and damage to property, and a second charge of simple assault, family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
20 total. Last arrest was November 2021. 2 counts of ag assault. 3 counts, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, a felony first offender. Possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission. I think I saw another arrest in 2021 for 2 counts of ag assault. Those cases were indicted, so they're open. 2018 failure to appear probation and a 2012 parole violation. And that's out of LaGrange, those violent charges.
Okay. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident occurred July 20th, 2020. And this is where officers talked to a Miss Veronica Smith, who stated that her boyfriend, the defendant, was outside of her residence yelling and knocking on the door and yelling that I know a guy is in there. And then he started kicking the door until he was able to kick the door frame open. The two of them previously lived together. Miss Smith told officers that she didn't open the door when he was knocking on the door because she was afraid of what would happen. She was afraid to open the door. And so after kicking the door open, the defendant forced his way into her home. And that's when Miss Smith's daughter, Lamisha Smith, and her friend stood in front of Veronica Smith to protect her. And then the defendant reached over Lamisha Smith to pull Veronica Smith's hair. Your Honor, our office made contact with Miss Smith, and she stated that they were together for about 9 years, but they're no longer together. They don't have any children, nor do they reside together currently. She did confirm the events listed in the warrant, but she stated that this was a while ago and she hasn't had any contact with the defendant since then. She did let us know that she's not afraid of the defendant and she's not interested in pursuing any charges against him. But the state's recommendation for all of these reasons is a $5,000 surety bond, $2,000 on each of the simple assault charges, and $1,000 for the criminal trespass charge, 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Veronica or Lamisha Smith, and to stay away from 49 Boulevard Northeast, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if either Miss Veronica or Lamisha Smith is on the Zoom call, I'd like to sound for them.
If either Ms. Veronica or Lamisha Smith are on the Zoom and would like to address the court, now is your opportunity.
Oh,
Doesn't appear.
It does.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. And I'm sorry, just briefly, and I've neglected to state that the aggravated assaults, I did look into the aggravated assaults that are out in Coweta County, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get the DA's office to get back with me, but they are, like pretrial said, they are indicted cases. It was 2 counts of aggravated assault, and I believe it's 2 counts of possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a felony.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Biggerstaff. Ms. Wells?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 34 years old. He reports that he's been incarcerated for the past 21 months in Troup County. And he also states that he recently had a trial where he was acquitted. But I have not been able to confirm that information, but that is what he reports. He will qualify in light of that information to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. He has a GED as well as some college from Georgia Technical College. He does deny the allegations as alleged. This is another incident that has happened some time ago. It happened nearly 3 years ago. My client has not had any communication with the alleged victim in this case or contact. The alleged victim does not even want to pursue this case. My client has a different address that he provided to me. He no longer resides with the alleged victim. And so I would like to request a signature bond in this case. And if Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask for the lowest bond amount possible. Again, it'll be very difficult for my client to make a bond in light of him being incarcerated for almost 2 years at this point.
Each of the simple assaults is going to be a $750 good bond. For the criminal trespass, a $500 good bond. That makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with either of the Smith ladies. Stay away from the 49 Boulevard address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Davis.
Hey, sir, do what you got to have cash on them bonds or just what, percent?
Yeah, we'll explain it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That was a 2,000 good, correct, Judge?
That's correct.
We have the Spanish interpreter case, position 7, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Madam Interpreter. Good afternoon. Thank you for assisting us this afternoon. If you'll raise your right hand for me.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that you will translate from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Buenas tardes, señor Rodríguez. Yo soy el juez Eric Morrow. Esta es la lista de causas aceleradas en la sala estatal de Condado de Fulton. Se está llevando a cabo esta diligencia judicial por video. ¿Acepta usted, está de acuerdo llevar a cabo su audiencia por video, señor?
Sí.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, you've been charged with simple battery family violence.
Señor Rodríguez, se le imputa el delito de violencia física simple, violencia en el hogar.
Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Licenciado Howard, ¿existe un historial?
2018 aggravated assault,
Agresión con agravantes en el 2018,
2017 unlawful transport of person conviction,
una condena en el 2017 por transportar ilegalmente a personas.
also ag assault, possession of a knife during the commission, ag battery dismissed,
También agresión con agravantes, posesión de un cuchillo en la comisión de un delito grave, desestimado.
2016 alien smuggling,
En el 2016, trato de extranjeros,
that's it.
solamente, su señoría.
Ms. Falk?
Licenciada Falk.
Yes, Your Honor, this happened June 21st, 12:30 Hanover Place in Roswell.
Sí, su señoría. Eso ocurrió el 21 de junio en el 1230 de la Hanover Place en Roswell.
The defendant shoved Miss Dina Vargas, who he used to reside with repeatedly.
El acusado empujó a la señora Dina Vargas, con quien vivió anteriormente, repetidamente.
This was witnessed by Terry Harris, who the warrant states is a neutral friend who stated the defendant was the aggressor.
Esto fue presenciado por el señor Terry Harris, que según el orden de arresto es un amigo neutro, mutuo. And I'm sorry, Ms. Falk, if you could repeat that last part, a neutral friend who.
A neutral friend who stated the defendant was the aggressor.
Y ella afirmó que el acusado fue el agresor.
We did have an opportunity to speak to Ms. Vargas. She could not be in attendance today because she is at work.
Sí, tuvimos la oportunidad de hablar con la señora Vargas. Ella no pudo asistir a la audiencia hoy porque está trabajando.
She stated she and the defendant used to work together and then he became her roommate.
Ella dijo que ella y el señor acusado antes trabajaban juntos y luego empezaron a vivir juntos.
Ms. Vargas stated she has been having issues with the defendant because he is in love with her and she is not interested in him.
La señora Vargas dice que ha tenido dificultades con el señor acusado porque él está enamorado de ella y a ella no le interesa.
Ms. Vargas stated that the defendant's car was being towed at the time and he got upset and became aggressive with her by pushing her repeatedly.
La señora Vargas dijo que se está llevando al auto del señor Rodríguez por grúa. En el momento, él se molestó y empezó a empujarla varias veces.
Ms. Vargas also stated that the defendant currently lives at that apartment at 1230 Hanover Place, but she will be going through the eviction process to evict him from the apartment.
La señora Vargas dice que el acusado actualmente está viviendo en el 1230 de la Hanover Place, pero que ella va a iniciar el proceso para desalojarlo de la casa.
Ms. Vargas finally stated that she is afraid of this defendant and she wants no further contact and a stay away order.
La señora Vargas dijo también que le tienen miedo al acusado y no tienen ningún contacto adicional con el señor acusado.
As your honors heard, was a previous arrest there was actually 2 previous aggravated assaults, one of which was dismissed.
Como usted escuchó, su señoría, había 2 arrestos anteriores por agresión con agravantes, uno de los cuales quedó desestimado.
And based upon that, the state is requesting a $2,000 surety bond.
Basándome en eso, el Estado está pidiendo una fianza de caución de $2,000.
No further contact with Dina Vargas.
Una condición de ningún contacto adicional en absoluto con Dina Vargas.
Stay away from 1230 Hanover Place in Roswell.
Que no vaya más a 1230 de la Hanover Place, Roswell.
And no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
Nada de consumo de alcohol y droga ni tenencia de armas. El Estado dice presentado.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor.
Licenciada Kim.
Mr. Israel is 67 years old.
Sí, su señoría, el señor Israel tiene 67 años de edad.
He has been retired for about 5 years.
Tiene como 5 años de estar retirado.
Since he has no complete employment and he is receiving Social Security, he is qualified for public defender services.
Él no tiene empleo actual, está recibiendo los beneficios de seguro social y él sí cumple los criterios para representación de parte de la Defensoría Pública.
He has no objection to stay away and no further contact.
No se opone a no tener contacto y de mantenerse alejado.
He just wants to make sure that he gets a signature on bond.
Solamente quiere asegurarse de recibir una fianza bajo palabra.
He's been here in Georgia for more than 24 years.
Tiene más de 24 años aquí en el estado de Georgia.
He has his 3 adult children all residing here in Georgia.
Tiene sus 3 hijos adultos que viven acá, todos en el estado de Georgia.
So he will come back to the court. So we would like to request for a signature on bond.
Él está dispuesto a volver al tribunal, entonces estamos pidiendo una fianza bajo palabra, por favor.
If Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because of the past history,
Si usted, su señoría, no está dispuesto de imponerle una fianza bajo palabra por los antecedentes penales,
we would like to request for $1,000 maximum good bond.
estamos pidiendo entonces una fianza máxima de $1,000, una fianza de caución.
Nothing further.
Presentado.
It's going to be $1,000 surety bond.
Entonces, será una fianza de caución de $1,000.
No further contact with Ms. Vargas.
Ningún contacto adicional con la señora Vargas.
Stay away from the 1230 Hanover Place address.
Que no vaya más al domicilio en el 1230 de la Hanover Place.
He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there.
Él puede regresar ahí en una sola ocasión acompañado de agentes del orden público para recoger las pertenencias que puede necesitar.
No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Nada de consumo de droga ni alcohol ni tenencia de armas mientras está en libertad bajo fianza.
Ms. Kim, your client has his hand up. Would you like to address him?
Licenciado Kim, su cliente tiene la mano alzada. ¿Quisiera usted hablar con él?
Mr. Israel, I would like to recommend you not to speak unless it is directly related to the bond. If you have any question, please feel free to call through the Spanish interpreter.
Y señor Israel, recomiendo que no hable a no ser que tiene que ver directamente con la fianza. Si tiene alguna pregunta, puede hablar directamente a través de la intérprete.
Bueno, es que ella vive en otro lugar y ella ya vive por su lado y yo por el mío.
Just that she lives somewhere else, so I live on my own and she lives separately. That's all.
Okay, so he has no reason to go back to 1230 Hanover Place?
Entonces, ¿usted no tiene razón para regresar al 1230 de la Hanover Place?
Es que ya
No, Your Honor, he wants to go back to 1230 Hanover as his residence.
No, su señoría, es que él quiere regresar al 1230 de la Hanover Place como su residencia.
Is my
He no longer lives there.
Dina no vive ahí desde el mes de noviembre del año pasado.
Dina has not lived there since November of last year, Your Honor.
He can go back to Hanover Place with law enforcement. And if Miss Vargas is not there, then he can reside there.
Usted puede regresar ahí al domicilio en Hanover Place acompañado de agentes del orden público. Si la señora Vargas no está ahí, entonces usted sí puede vivir ahí. Okay.
All right. Anything further on Mr. Rodriguez?
¿Algo adicional en cuanto al caso del señor Rodríguez?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nada adicional.
Good luck to you, Mr.
Buena
Rodriguez.
suerte, señor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we? Thank you, Madam Interpreter. Do we need Madam Interpreter for anything else this afternoon? If not, thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Hey, Judge Morrow, I do have a couple of announcements.
Okay.
For position number 6, it's going to be waive of appearance.
Okay.
Also, for position number 8, he waived his appearance as well.
Okay.
And that's it. We're completed here in courtroom 2.
All right. Very good. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one. Be safe.
Yes, do the same. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Let's see, position number 6, Mr. Purnell was charged with simple battery. It appears he has an extensive history, Mr. Howard.
Yes, 84 total. Last was in May, trespass. That's open in state court. Got history out of Philly as well. Well, he's wanted out of Philly anyway. On probation in Superior Court for shoplifting. And a lot of probation violations.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me just pull that up very briefly. And let me make sure I have the right case. This is Mr. Purnell's case.
Yes.
So this happened June 20th, 2023 at 620 Glen Irish Drive Northeast. Julia Stevens stated she saw the defendant who was unhoused at the time on the property at that location. It appears when I looked it up to be condominiums. Ms. Stevens confronted the defendant, who then came toward her aggressively and spit on her. The defendant then went into the basket that was attached to his bicycle, grabbed a can of paint and threw it at her. There does not appear to have been any previous relationship between these two parties prior to this interaction. This incident was caught on video, which was then shown to the officer via the video surveillance, and the defendant was arrested the following day when the officers identified him from the video. As you've already heard, this defendant has an extensive history out of both South Carolina and Georgia, with a total of, I think my count was 74 cycles. We did leave a voicemail for the victim, who we would like to stand for, Miss Julie Stevens. The state is requesting, based on this extensive history and the actions toward Miss Stevens, we are requesting a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with Julie Stevens, and stay away from 620 Glen Irish Drive Northeast, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
If Ms. Stevens is on the line, now is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to do so. Doesn't appear so, Ms. Falk. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Purnell is 47 years old. He was born in Pennsylvania. However, he has been living here in Georgia for about 6 years. He has 4 children, proud father, and he has been working at H&S Detail as a detail car washer. He's been doing that for about 4 years after he got a GED. However, his income is not high enough, so he's qualified for public defender services. So we would like to request for signature on bond. And yet I do understand that he has extensive past histories. So we would like to request maximum $1,000 good bond. Thank you.
It's going to be $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Stevens. Stay away from the Glen Iris Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. The other waiver was position 8. Mr. Sarles. Let's see, and apparently he has an extensive history also, Mr. Howard.
Correct. 16 total. Last arrest was on the 18th of this month. Shoplifting out of DeKalb County. That's open. It got open disorderly conduct, obstruction, possession of a Schedule 1 in Superior Court. Open burglary, ag stalking, terroristic threats, regular stalking, criminal trespass, theft by taking, Superior Court. 2020 simple battery DV, 2019 probation, 2018 battery trespass, failure to appear 2018. That's it.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened March 16th, 2023 at 1375 Northside Drive Northwest. Officers spoke with Brianna Christmas, who stated that she and her boyfriend, the defendant, were inside her vehicle when she got a call from an unknown number. The defendant then became upset about the call and began punching and beating her while they were still inside of the vehicle. When Ms. Christmas tried to exit the vehicle and run away, the defendant followed her, grabbed her hair, punched her in the face, and pepper sprayed her in the mouth. The defendant then took her car keys and fled the scene. Ms. Christmas stated that she was living with the defendant inside of the vehicle at the time of this incident, and the officers did observe that Ms. Christmas had injuries to her face as a result of this. We have had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Christmas, and although she stated she would not be on the Zoom, I would like to sound for her. She stated that they have been together for approximately 2 years and are both currently living with her father. She is currently 4 months pregnant with the defendant's child, and she stated she did not wish to pursue charges and has recanted. However, I would like to point out that this defendant not only has 17 cycles, but he was arrested on a warrant from February 4th, 2023 today for aggravated assault, which alleged he struck his sister, Derica Sorrell, several times with a wooden broom handle. He also has an FTA from that February 16th, 2023 case. That's 22 SC 184974 that alleges aggravated stalking, terroristic threats and acts, criminal trespass, and theft by taking against Tanisha Wilborn. Furthermore, he has a 2016 probation violation and 2018 failure to appear, as well as a 2020 arrest for simple battery family violence. So he has both FTAs, probation violations, and outstanding cases of a violent nature. For that reason, we are requesting a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact with Brianna Christmas, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We cannot ask for a stay away at this time because we do not have Miss Christmas's address. That's all for the state.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sorrells is 28 years old, and he has 2 children, 4 and 7 years old, and he is employed as a cook at Gus World's Famous Chicken ever since March 2023. Your Honor, his income is not high enough because he resides with his 2 children. He's qualified for public defender services, and he's residentially challenged. So we actually asked the social worker service to have a visit. And I got an email from a social worker that he was on the way to provide housing resources and to meet with him. We would like to request for signature on bond. And even though he has past histories, so if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for maximum $1,000 good bond. Even that he may not have a bond to be paid. Thank you.
It's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Christmas. No stay away. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, that appears to anything, Ms. Falk? Did I miss something?
I was just reiterating $1,000 surety bond.
No, $5,000.
5,000. Okay, I wasn't sure if I heard you correctly. That's why I was asking. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are we gonna do the BHET? I think I heard something about that. No?
No, she was gonna have a social worker visit,
Okay.
go assist him with housing.
No problem. Well, with that being said,
Thank you.
If you all are ready, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Bridgewater.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be July the 6th. Position number 1 is reset to that SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $500 SOB through the jail. Position 3 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 4 took a plea. Position 5 is reset to the SAP calendar with a total $6,000 good bond. Position 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 7, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 8, reset to the SAP calendar with a $5,000 good bond. Position 9, SAP calendar with a $6,000 good bond. Position 10, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. On the add-on calendar, position number 1 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. And position 2 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Okay. If not, you all have a good rest of the day. Thank you all as always.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everyone.
I'll get those signed when you get them to me, Ms. Bridgewater.
They're on their way right now.
Okay.